Well, that's all for today. Please like and subscribe unless you're associated with Tiffany Mayfield, in which case, eat shit and die. I'd say see you on the next one, but who fucking knows if there's gonna be a next one. Bye bye, motherfuckers. Have a wonderful fucking 2025. Step 4. Tie up all the loose ends. Fiction should be neat and tidy, unlike real life. Look, I'm a busy man. I can't be writing 20 books a year, running a publishing company, doing this web series, all while remembering every conversation I have with every person. This libel stuff, it's just a desperate plea for attention from someone who barely could be a receptionist, let alone someone who thinks she knows the ins and outs of libel law. And the sexual harassment stuff, I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. I've had lots of people come through my office doors, and like most bosses, I've had sexual relations with a few of them. So that right there tells you I didn't target Tiffany specifically. In fact, I was sleeping with 2 other office assistants while we were in a relationship. So how could there be quid pro quo if I was getting it from multiple people? Was I playing favorites with all of them? That doesn't even follow basic logic. Anyway, back to the libel stuff. Even if it does have a vague similarity to a real life story, if Tiffany had ever listened to my advice, she'd know that that's what a great writer does. He gets inspired by the world around him. Now, if she wants to take down the company that paid her salary for an entire 7 months, give me a fucking break. Step 3. Leave room for interpretation. Now, this can depend on the kind of story you're writing. If you're writing a series, you may want to tease that the villain might have survived the final battle. And some very powerful pieces of fiction have ambiguous endings that readers may argue over. Call Me By Your Name and American Psycho are 2 great examples, as is a recent novel that I've had to remove from the market for a reason I won't get into. All I'll say is that this book ends with the main character finally free to pursue a romance she's wanted the whole book, but it doesn't tell us her final decision. But real life is messy like that. Sometimes people say things that can be interpreted in a variety of ways. Like, imagine your secretary walks into your office at 5 o'clock and asks, "Would you like me to stay late?" How would you interpret that? Sure, it could mean, "I'm willing to stay late to reduce the amount of work you have to do." But it could also mean, "I can't wait until everyone else leaves, so it's just the 2 of us alone." Anyway, as I've often told my lawyer, it totally makes sense why 2 people might interpret that differently. Step 2. Try out different types of endings. Despite what many authors might tell you, you don't have to know your ending in advance. Write 3 or 4 different endings. If you find one that surprises you, it may surprise readers even more. It can be very liberating as a writer, too. We don't get to choose different endings in life. We may have let a job opportunity go by and spend the rest of our life regretting it. Or we might spend our days casually flirting with bar patrons, yoga classmates, and coworkers with the vain optimism that one will eventually match the charisma and beauty of your second wife, only to have them bore you with details of their similarly depressing life. Step 1. Know your ending before writing. You want to take the reader by surprise, but not yourself. Wild twists that don't make sense just make you look as emotionally unhinged as a drunken secretary who advances on you sexually at an office party, even though you barely know each other. Now, have I written books without knowing the ending in advance? Well, of course. When you write 430 books in 27 years, 13 of those being periods of heavy drug use, both self and externally administered, things like that are going to happen. Dawson, a book I wrote as a young man, is a particularly bad example of this. I wrote it without ever knowing who the killer was, and in the end I had no choice but to make the titular character the killer because his only alibi was that he didn't remember where he was on the night of the murder. A great ending should have the following elements. It should resolve your central conflict. It should satisfy the reader. It should illustrate the character's transformation, and it should take your reader by surprise. To illustrate this point, let's look at Business as Usual, a book I just released at the beginning of 2024. The novel follows Tabitha Martin, a young girl trying to make it in the big city while taking care of her sick brother. You can skip ahead if you don't want any spoilers, but the novel ends with the character's brother dying. It solves the central conflict because she's able to live her life now. It takes the reader by surprise because the brother doesn't die of cancer, but is instead absolutely pancaked by a bus. And it satisfies the reader because Tabitha finally has time to pursue the sexual relationship with her boss that she hinted at by dressing slutty to work. Now let's look at some more general tips that work for all kinds of fiction. Today's video is brought to you by Bed Bath & Beyond. Has the dry weather this winter left your skin chapped and crackly? Do your house guests keep stealing your decorative soaps? Looking to get the receptionist at your office a nice gift to show your appreciation for all her hard work that doesn't indicate any untoward feelings? This bustling retail chain is a great place for all your Bed Bath & Beyond needs. From bath towels to tiger balm to massage oils, they've got it all. Bed Bath & Beyond, always there when you need us. Hello, good evening, and welcome. I'm John Lazarus with Stories Matter and D&E Publishing. 2024 looks to be a great year for both myself and the D&E Publishing team as a whole. My plan is to publish this video about story endings at the end of 2024. Story endings are one of the most difficult things to pull off as a writer. Because of this, it's going to take me all year to create this video, as I'll likely have to piece it together little by little. Anyway, like sex, a great ending should be an emotional release that all of your hard work, all those jogs, those fasts, those Kegel exercises, culminates in, so to speak. But unlike sex, a writer needs to at least attempt to satisfy the person you're performing for. It helps to think of some of the great endings of fiction and really analyze why they work so well. The ending of the original Star Wars works so well because it satisfies the audience's basest, most primal bloodlust. We cheer because the hundreds of thousands of sentient beings who are not in our in-group have just suffered an unimaginably painful death. We'll wrap things up in a neat and tidy package that leaves our reader emotionally satisfied on this edition of Stories Matter. Warning, the following video contains strong language and sexual situations and should not be viewed by anyone under 18.